Welcome to this Epiphany Sunday at Native American United Methodist Church. We're going to open with "Oh Sing and Honor Jesus." Oh, sing and honor Jesus, aye. Oh, sing and honor Jesus, aye. His word has come now. His word has come now. So let it dwell in you. Hey, hey. So let it dwell in you. Hey, hey. He's showing his way. He's showing his way. So follow faithfully. Hey, hey. So follow faithfully. Hey, hey. Praise Jesus' name forever. Praise Jesus' name forever. Praise Jesus' name forever. Praise Jesus' name forever. Let us join our call to worship. May the powerful of the nations come and honor the one who has come. For this one comes as a deliverer when we call. The one strengthens the weak and is a helper to those in need. May righteousness flourish and may peace abound. Then we'll open with the first Noel. It's number 245 in our hymnal. And I'll sing verses 1, 2, and 3. The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as brightness of your promised deliverance, you send light into our darkness with hope as a guiding star. As generations before us, we stand in awe of your power and love. We come to honor you, lifting our voices to your goodness and giving heed to your wisdom. Amen. Today we turn to Matthew, the second chapter, the first 12 verses. I would encourage people to as well take the time to include in verses 16 through 18, which includes the slaughter of the innocents. But today we read the coming visits of the wise men or the Magi. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born, King of the Jews? We observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler, who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called to the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent to them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. May Creator God honor us and bless us with the wisdom of the reading of these words. We begin, of course, in this section where Matthew tells us it's in the time of King Herod. So we need to put in the context a sense of what Herod was like as a king in Israel, in a sense who he was. But it makes me as well think of John Meacham in his recent book, The Soul of America, Battle for Our Better Angels. And in that, one of the things I took away in watching a special with him was how in many times there have been upheavals in society, there have been a variety of movements, and within those we often find not only our better selves, but sadly sometimes we find our worst selves. As we come to the end sometimes of those movements, we find within them that at times the good movements are seeking to accomplish, yet they at times exclude others. And so they don't become quite our better angels for some time. And sadly, we are in a time where we seem to be so polarized that we cannot either have conversation with one another or speak with one another. We not only become fearful or defensive, but we seem to have trouble finding our better angel. And so I want to not spend too much time, in a sense, on our current politics and get deeply into that. But I want us to be able to look at what is happening not only with the coming of these wise men of the Magi, the response of Herod, the response of Jerusalem, the response at times that we have within various movements. Whenever there's change, whenever something is coming that seems to Now, Herod was appointed by the Roman Senate to be, as they call, king of the Jews. And he maintained that title through successive Roman emperors. But many within the nation did not view him as the one that really should be there at that title. They often viewed him, in a sense, as an usurper of that throne, of that leadership, of that role within the people. Herod was known to be not only one who had great and massive building projects, he even rebuilt the temple for the people in Israel. He was known for having great famine projects, but he was also known for heavy taxation and at times near paranoia, that later on, as he became ill, it drove him to not only commit the murder of his wife, but at least 2 sons. Herod was one who loved power. Herod loved whatever was centered around himself. And so it was no surprise in the sense that when others coming from outside the nation who seemed to recognize that something was happening, something was about to change, something important was being brought about, it was through their study or through their observation or a combination of those things, it got not only Herod's attention, but it seemed to get the attention of those leaders in the capital of Jerusalem. And so when they appear, what we hear is that Herod and all Jerusalem were frightened. So their response to this potential change, this potential coming of something important, a change within maybe society structure, whatever they feared it might potentially be, or probably for Herod, the fear that a king would come, a leader would come, the people would get behind and follow. And he was not interested in the common good. He was interested in himself. And so that brought about his fear. So when they appear, Herod goes on his own educational mission in the sense that he calls together the leaders of the people. He calls together the priests and others amongst them who would not only know the laws and the prophecies and all the things they had held on to for so long, that they had looked for the coming of the Messiah, that if anyone would know what was about to occur and if that was actually happening, it would be them. So he calls together this council, if you will, this group, and asks of them, where would he find this child? Where is the child to be born? Where is the Messiah to come from? And they, of course, quoting Micah to him, say, in Bethlehem of Judea. And that is important to get a context of that portion as well, because Bethlehem, though often referred to as a small town or a village, was the place where Ruth met Boaz, where there were many of important status that came from there, where David was considered to have been likely born and raised. It was a place where they looked to as kind of the capital maybe even of Judea, but it was a place of importance that God seemed to raise up leaders from there. Even where Jacob had married Rachel. And so it held great significance for the people. And of course, Herod then calls the wise men. Because he has been told by his own leadership, this council, this group, that Bethlehem will bring forth a ruler who will shepherd the people, who will care for the people, will be about their redemption, if you will. So he calls together the wise men to learn about this star. What is guiding them? And they share, of course, what they have observed, what they have been following, what has been guiding them along their travels to come to this place. And so we can jump a little bit ahead because Herod They have come to honor what they see as God doing in their midst. But we can, of course, jump ahead and know that the wise men would be warned not to return to Herod. We could jump all the way to verses 16 through 18, where Herod's lashing out. His fear turns to the kind of lashing out that he actually seeks to destroy the innocent children in Bethlehem, because he has already heard from his own leaders where this child was to be born. So his response is to try to destroy. But what we have is, of course, a comparison. Comparison of what guides each of these people or groups. Herod, and we have been told those around him in Jerusalem are being guided by fear, being guided by self-interest. So in a sense, the concern that there is a potential coming that the people could get behind does not bring about his better angel. The wise men go, search, follow this guiding star. Much has been said about this star. Was it a supernova? Was it the alignment of Jupiter and Saturn? Or simply a miraculous occurrence that was there to guide them? And then when its task was accomplished, would have gone away. We really don't know, but we know that they were being guided to this place. And when they found it, and they found Mary, they did go and do as they felt they needed to do. They honored this child. Now, much has been made of the gifts that they offered: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And at least the frankincense and myrrh, many look at that as looking way ahead to the crucifixion and the preparation of his body before burial, and then in preparation for resurrection. Something that would really save and redeem us. And others look then potentially to the gold as a redeeming of the people, a symbol of that. Let's set that aside for just a little bit, because in a sense what we really have is the comparison that these three magi, these three wise men, we often in our plays and programs and artistic representations called kings, have come from outside the nation to bring honor to this one born in Bethlehem. Now, Epiphany comes really in 3 more days, on the 6th officially. It is often referred to as the manifestation of the Messiah or the Christ to the Gentiles. And Matthew may be looking at the coming of these three as that symbol that they will then carry out from there. But in a sense, all we're really being given, in a sense, is as they honor this child, as they honor this one born in Bethlehem, they're putting forward a sense that all of us who then are guided to this one are called to be a part of a community, called to be a part of what would bring about the kind of honoring that would include people rather than keep them apart from this movement or that movement. So it makes me, in a sense, really wonder as I look at Herod's response and their response. How do we respond to changes, to conflicts, to upheavals, to things which are unknown to us or come as a bit of a surprise and just throw everything into a bit of turmoil? How do we respond? Do we get together and have the conversations that allow us to look at one another and say, hey, maybe they have a point. Maybe there's something to look at here. Or do we respond like Herod did, out of fear, and try to squash either the movement or the individuals involved or people, and sadly how often turn violent. And so when I think of the slaughter of the innocent children then in Bethlehem, after wise men are born, don't return to Herod. He lacks sincerity. He is not about coming to honor this one. I think of how often when we respond to one another out of fear, or need to hang on, whether it be to control or whatever it might be, how many innocent people get hurt. So I think Matthew may be trying to tell us that this one who is coming to be our Prince of Peace, to be the one to redeem the people, one that brings about an honoring that is not demanded but available. How do we hear in a way that would encourage us to have the conversations, to listen to one another, to see what Creator may be doing within society, within the nation, within the world, so that we could seek the common good, so that we could seek out the soul of the nation, the soul of the nations, maybe bring the healing of the nations. And so it's like those magi who come to bring honor. Is that what guides us? Is that what guides the soul of this nation? Is that what brings out our better angels? So that whether we always agree or have the ability to disagree, we have the ability to bring such honor, such care, such concern, that we're always looking for the guiding wisdom, if you will, the guiding star of Creator God in our lives and amongst the community. It would be able to speak, to listen, to grow, to gain Creator's wisdom without the violent and fearful responses. And in that way, maybe we could lower some of the rhetoric, open up much more of the hearing, and do as many of our nations and tribal peoples do, in the sense that we cannot come to the best decisions, to the best proposals, the best wisdom, unless we have heard from everyone. Maybe when we get to that place, that can become our guiding star, and we will find our soul and the soul of the nations. Amen. I want to close with, I had within our bulletins, the next song would be What Child Is This? But I want to close with Go Tell It on the Mountain, which in the hymnal is number 251. So I want us to be able to have that sense that we can share, we can speak, we can go out, we can be the ones to sense offer some guidance, some wisdom, and in a sense know how as we live and share, as we seek out the soul of the nation, to seek out a better angel, we are telling it out on the mountains and valleys and everywhere. So I wanted to turn to that song today. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds walk, they're watching, or silent flock by night, behold through guidance, that presence, that saving grace into the world, so we can not only share, but we can hear, and we can find a way to push fear aside and come